Okay, now we're going to talk about pets. We have to understand definitions. Common meaning of words. Livestock. Livestock is an animal kept or raised for profit, is the generally accepted definition of those. A pet is a domesticated animal kept for purposes of pleasure rather than utility. Okay? Household does not live outside. There are probably 25 cases from around the United States that went to either the Court of Appeals of a state or the Supreme Court of a state over the meaning of those words, based on community association covenants. Okay? Livestock, animals who are kept, raised for profit. Pet, a domesticated animal kept for purposes of pleasure rather than utility. And household does not live outside. How many pets do you see? 2. 1. Yeah. The one on top is a golden retriever. The one on the bottom isn't. It's dinner, yeah. Okay? 1983 case from Hawaii. It dealt with an association and it dealt with a zoning ordinance. And the zoning ordinance didn't define livestock. The person said, this is a member of the family. Guess who won? Porky did. Porky did. Yep. Because it wasn't defined, you go to, hey, I even made it go back when I wanted to. They proved that it lived with them. It was like a dog. So it wasn't kept or raised for profit. It was kept for pleasure rather than utility. It fit the common, ordinary definition of that. Right? Pets or livestock? Okay, this is another one. There's only 2 choices, folks. How many people say those are pets? How many people say that's livestock? Wrong again. Yeah, those are Fred and Barney. And Fred and Barney are some dwarf Nigerian goats. And Fred and Barney were living in an equestrian community in North Carolina. Fred and Barney were bought after the mother of the household had some heart problems and asthma. And so they brought in Fred and Barney. Well, the covenant said that you could not have livestock, no animals, livestock, or poultry of any kind shall be raised, bred, or kept on any lot except that horses, because it was an equestrian community, dogs, cats, or other pets may be kept as provided they do not cause a nuisance, okay? So you couldn't have animals, livestock, poultry, but you could have horses, dogs, cats, or other pets. And they went after her. And she proceeded to introduce into the court that Fred and Barney were a part of the household, that they slept in igloo, those things for dogs, those igloo-looking things, that they would take them regularly to PetSmart so they could get new toys, that when they threw the ball that they would come and get it, that when they wanted their hair brushed they would go get a brush, a comb, and bring it to her, and on and on and on and on. They had not defined the word livestock in their declaration. Go back to. It wasn't being used for commercial purposes. It was a pet. It was being used for personal feeling good, right? Ford was desperate. I mean, they pulled out every argument known to man. And they said, well, there's the provision in the document that says that no noxious or offensive behavior shall be permitted on the property. And they said, Fred and Barney are noxious critters. And the court, you gotta love the court when they say, you know what, this is a bunch of stuff. They said this when they brought up that what they left around was a nuisance. The court said, we find the defendant, meaning the association's argument regarding the odors produced by Fred and Barney to be very small, by these very small goats, somewhat perplexing. They find those odors somewhat perplexing, as very similar and very larger, much larger odors are deposited by the horses. Who won? Fred and Barney won. You got that right. All right, so far, pets win. Okay? Pets do win. They're more protected than kids are. And that's my segue now. With one exception. Dog, fish, cat, bird. Okay? And the issue here is, and Hawaii has a statute on it that's in your materials, that if you have a pet and there was no regulation on it, then you have the right to keep it and replace it when it dies. Or if the association adopts an amendment that prohibits pets and you had a pet, you have the right to replace it because it's keeping you the way you were. Well, this is an association in Florida that passed a provision or an amendment that said no pets whatsoever shall be on the property except for fish and birds. And the amendment passed. But the president would go around and say, don't worry, it doesn't apply to cats. It may look like it applies to cats, but it's not going to. And people, cat owners, plus others, adopted it. There was a dog owner who said, you're coming after me, you fined me for having a dog, but what about all these cats? She wouldn't pay the fine, so she got sued. The trial court, if you can believe this one, said, well, we got to look at the nature of the species. Cats are not dogs. One of my favorite quotes of all times. Cats are not dogs. Okay? We're all agreed? And then they said, and a cat doesn't bark. Another one, I didn't know that. Cats use a litter box, dogs don't. Yeah. Dogs have to go outside. And I don't mean for the litter box thing, let's say for exercise. Okay? And you know, when you think about it, that's sort of like fishes and birds. I'm not making this up. Right? They don't bark. They don't go outside. So I know that the amendment said only, exclusively, fishes and birds, but a cat is more like a fish and a bird than it is a dog. So the trial court said she had to get rid of her dog. She appealed it. Of course she did. That's my baby you're talking about. Court of Appeals, I mean, all the way up in the state of South Carolina, again, spending big bucks. Court of Appeals said, are you on drugs? The restriction is clear and unambiguous and states that other than fish and birds, no pets whatsoever shall be allowed. The fact that cats are different from dogs makes no difference. What does matter is that neither a cat nor a dog is a fish or a bird. So both are prohibited. You can't make this stuff up. Okay? A lawsuit over no pets whatsoever other than fishes and birds. And it went all the way to the Court of Appeals of Florida.